Test, test. All right. We are live with another episode of Comic Talk. It's that show brought to you by The Key where we talk about this week's new comic book releases. For those of you who don't know, DC Comics, Marvel Comics, Indie Comics, all sorts of comics, they all come out in comic shops on Wednesdays, and we're here on a Thursday, every Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, to talk about all the books that came out this week, aka all the books that we could read in 24 hours, roughly. If you want to find a comic shop near you, go to comicshoplocator.com. But I'm your host, Dimithri Perera. This is Comic Talk. If you're watching us live, you're watching us on youtube.com/The Keeg Show or on twitch.tv/The Keeg Show. Or you're not watching us at all and you're listening to the podcast wherever you get your podcast from. But we got frequent guest on the show. We got Virgo Blade, aka Ethan. Ethan, how's it going, man?
What up? What up? It's going pretty good. How are you?
Doing good. Last week I was at C2E2 and we recorded, but not live streamed. We recorded a podcast episode and technically it hasn't released yet. But by the time people are listening to this podcast episode, go back and listen to last week's podcast episode because we talked about some good stuff.
Nice.
What were you going to say?
I just say nice.
Yeah. I'm trying to, this show is supposed to be a weekly show, so I'm trying to bend over backwards to make this show happen every week, which also means when I'm in Chicago for C2E2, doing a podcast from, like, the kitchen in the Airbnb,
Yeah, I mean, you got to make it work.
And you make it work. You read a lot of comics for this show, and you do your content for your TikToks.
I do my best, the best that I possibly can.
That's all we can do,
True.
I mean,
I'm only human and cyborg.
Yeah. Are you a cyborg?
Little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's a quick question for you. Should Cyborg have a C on his chest or not?
No.
I don't like when they try to give him a logo.
Look, he's a cyborg. You can obviously tell. I feel like he's already iconic. Some characters do need that emblem that has something like that. But for Cyborg, you know who he is when he comes in. So I don't really feel like he needs the C.
Yeah. Well, because so old school heroes, like Golden Age, Silver Age heroes, they have logos on their chests, right? Like that's how it works. More so Golden Age than Silver Age, because Marvel comes in the Silver Age and suddenly like these heroes don't have logos. Like Thor doesn't have a logo. There is logos that they use for Thor when they're trying to like put him on a kid's backpack or something, like, and it tends to be like a hammer and like that's Thor's logo. But like the Hulk doesn't have a logo. Thor doesn't have a logo. Iron Man doesn't have a logo. They make logos, but they don't like stick to them in the comics. Like, just for merchandising reasons. And that's because Marvel came out, after DC roughly, right? So I don't know. It's kind of funny when like a character like Cyborg, created in the 70s for the Titans, for the Teen Titans back then is in the Justice League, and suddenly he has like a C that is part gear and part C. Which, I mean, is not a bad logo. It's just like, does he need it?
Right. It's like, I don't hate the design, but I don't feel like it's necessary to him. I don't think that it really adds anything. And that's kind of my issue with it.
Yeah. DC's been trying to do that. Like, they gave Beast Boy, like a paw with, like, claws as a logo. And, like, Raven, I forget if they gave Raven one. I don't think Starfire has one. And it's like, some of them are getting logos and some of them don't.
Yeah, and I feel like it worked for certain characters, but for others, it doesn't. I feel like those Titans ones, like, not, once again, I don't hate any of them, because I did like, it was like the Raven post 1 year later, she had like this very intricate looking like Raven design on her costume, but it still kind of fit in the theme of her, of what she was wearing, so I didn't mind it. But like Starfire, like, she doesn't need to wear, like, have an S on it for me. Like, she's orange, a Tamaranian, it's not needed.
She's visually distinctive enough. Like, what's the point?
Yes, exactly. You know,
Yeah.
whereas like maybe like Animal Man having that big A, like okay, you know, um, because like he's not maybe as well known as well, and so that allows people to be like, oh, that's Animal Man. That's how I can differentiate.
Yeah. I feel like, yeah, I don't know. They'll always do it. Marvel will do it for like video games. They'll make up just random logos so they can like suddenly Storm gets a logo and it's like Storm gets a logo. Okay. Like what's Wolverine's logo? Like
Gonna be blood and claws.
yeah. Like I don't know. It's weird sometimes when they try to like brand it like that.
Hmm.
But that's also just cuz like superhero logos and that classic style is kind of like a remnant of the past. And we see it
Yeah,
with DC Comics, but not so much with Marvel.
it's true. Yeah, and I think you're all right about it being a different era, and I feel like it's kind of like a more modern way of doing it, whereas like DC came from the classical like vintage superhero.
Yeah. That being said, and it's very funny that DC has the opposite of this, Marvel has logos for their teams, but not for their
Mm,
individuals. But DC doesn't have logos for their teams. Like the Justice League doesn't have a logo, not
mm.
one that like they would wear on their persona when they're on like on missions. Teen Titans, I guess, is just a T with a circle, but I don't think they wear it on their costumes.
No, I never noticed that before. That's like the first time I've ever heard of that costume symbol theory.
Because X-Men have it, right?
Hmm.
Fantastic Four have a four. Avengers
True.
have it. They slap
True.
those three on like everything. Because
Hmm.
Marvel's all about team logos, not individual
It's true.
logos.
Very interesting. I wonder why that is. Why they're so team focused,
I
but
mean,
not individual.
the team's sold, right? Like
True.
Spider-Man has a logo, sure,
Hmm.
but I don't know. It's interesting. I think we're going down a rabbit hole. We're coming up with something.
Right.
We're doing our research live.
Yeah.
Um, if anyone's out there in our chat or out there watching us live, maybe on youtube.com/the Keeg Show, let us know in the chat that you're watching us. Say hi. Let us know if any of the comics that came out this week or something that you picked up. We both read a lot of comics. I want to know what your reading list was this week.
Okay, this week was Captain America, Sam Wilson, issue number 4, X Factor, issue number 9, Exceptional X-Men, issue number 8, Summer of Superman, issue number 1, Batman Superman World's Finest, issue number 38, Absolute Flash, issue number 2, Zatanna, issue number 3, Nightwing, issue number 125, New Gods, issue number 5. Yeah, that's my list.
That's a good list.
Yeah.
A lot of those are ones that I wanted to get to and I
Hmm.
didn't get to.
Hmm.
Some of those we did overlap, but and I have some more that I read, but like some of them I really have to catch up on. For example, one of the comics that came out this week, I was a couple issues behind, but I managed to catch up to lead me into this week when I realized, oh, this is a comic that I like. I just fell behind on it for a couple months. So, what did I read this week? I read Absolute Flash number 2. I also read Batman Superman World's Finest 38. I read Nightwing 125. I read the Summer of Superman special. It says number 1, but it's a one shot. And I wish that comic companies, both DC and Marvel, wrote like shot underneath one so they can
They're
have
trying to
that
sell
like
these comics.
what's that?
They're trying to sell these comics. People
Right,
want
because
their number ones.
people love their number ones. But like
Hmm.
if they wrote one and a shot underneath, it's like maybe you still get that. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But whatever.
Sure.
I didn't get far with X Factor 9, so I wouldn't count that. But I read Detective Comics 1096. That's the one I had to catch up on. I read
I'm one
Ultimate.
issue behind on that. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, we'll talk about it. We'll definitely talk about it. Because that finished the arc, I think, in that one.
Hmm.
Ultimate Wolverine 4, Wonder Woman 20, Wolverine 8. I don't know whether I finished Wolverine 8. It's like 2 stories in one, I think. I don't remember. Titans 22, Spectacular Spider-Men 14, DC X Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and Superior Avengers number 1.
Good list.
Yeah. On today's episode, Ambrosia, aka Comics and Cupcakes, was supposed to be on it, but she had an issue, so wasn't able to come on this. She normally reads Spider-Man stuff and like primarily Marvel stuff, and she loves Venom. So shout out to Web of Venomverse Fresh Brains. I didn't read it. I'm vocally not a Venom fan. Though I have been reading the all new Venom. So, I mean, that's been fun. That's been a fun title.
A friend of mine was saying that Venom has a really good storyline going on, so I might check it out. I've never been like anti-Venom, but
Yeah.
but I've never like been specifically drawn to him outside of him as a villain against Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to think of him like, oh, I'm going to read a solo Eddie Brock story.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't like the symbiotes and all that stuff. I don't care for them. If they disappeared, I hate the idea that, like, you know how, like, anytime Superman comes around, any adaptation of Superman, people are just like, when's Doomsday coming? And it's like, let's not worry about Doomsday, man. Like, let's just tell some Superman stories. I would be happy if in the DCU, Doomsday never comes around. Like,
okay, here's my one thing, and I know this is gonna be like kind of peak fanboy, not really a complaint. You'll understand this because like no one else like outside. But so I kind of have an issue with everyone associating Doomsday with Marvel right now, and that's like the one part. And even though we've gotten a lot
title,
of
like Avengers Doomsday.
Yes.
Yes.
So even though we've gotten a lot of Doomsday content with animation, with comics, like he's legit back in the Superman comics, like I get it. But it's like now the whole world is going to associate Doomsday with Marvel, and I'm like, nah, he's DC.
Yeah.
So that once again, not really a complaint for like a normal, rational human being, but it's something that I think about.
I agree. I think I don't know. It's weird branding, but like I'm okay with if DC feels like they can't tell any more Doomsday stories because
like if this is what does it.
I'm okay with it because just like when people do a Batman adaptation and they're just counting down the days till that universe's Joker pops up, that I at least understand a little bit better because I don't think Doomsday is to Superman what Joker is to Batman. But like I don't need Doomsday to pop up in Superman stories. I'm trying to remember what popped this up. I'm trying to wait, what got me on this thing?
I actually don't remember.
What got me here in the first place?
Venom.
Venom. I'm okay with the symbiote. Like if you tell a Spider-Man story and the symbiote never appears, I'm okay with that.
Okay.
That being said, all new Venom right now, pretty good story. And then Eddie Brock Carnage, also pretty good. And I don't like either of those characters, but props to where it's deserved. Good stuff. So we both had some overlapping stuff this week. And by the way, I just wanted to brag that I was at C2E2 and I went to a Superman panel where they talked about like kind of what's coming up with Superman, and it ties in with the Summer of Superman special. So I met and when I say met, I didn't like hang out and have like a party with these people, but like I said hi. I said, would you like to come on the podcast? So I got varying degrees of answers back with that. But Tom King, Jason Aaron, Dan Mora, Clayton Henry, so a couple of artists, couple of writers. It was super cool. So
that would be very cool.
So we'll see.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, that'd be a big get. But Summer of Superman is really interesting because it that one shot is kind of like teasing a couple of things that are to come with Superman. But we'll talk about that when we get to talking about it. I want to know your pick of the week this week.
So it has changed after having read my list, and it is Absolute Flash number 2.
Interesting.
I loved this issue. I won't say more than the first one because without the first one, I don't think that this would have hit as hard.
Uh-huh.
But it was so fast paced. I love not knowing what was going to happen next. I felt the anxiety of Wally West going back and forth through time, dealing with the rogues, dealing with his father and Dr. Barry Allen, and then the future where he's like maybe a monster, maybe a hero, and he's just freaking out. He's crashing out the whole time. It was dope. And so I just felt like this was a comic where I felt like I was on the road with him, trying to figure out what was going on and not knowing what the hell was happening.
I would like to understand what happened in this issue, and I read it, but there are two books or two like comics that came out this week that were kind of confusing. This is one of them.
Was it the time stuff?
Yeah, they're both timey-wimey kind of weird things. Superior Avengers, very good issue. But just narrowly misses my pick of the week because it gets confusing at the end and I'm still trying to like figure it out. But let's talk Absolute Flash number 2. I'm confused about the time jumps and what's in order. Is it, I can't tell whether the order of events are how it looks to Wally and he's going through time, or us going back and forward with certain things. Like, is Barry Allen alive or dead? Let's start there. Is Barry Allen alive or dead?
Right. So in the first issue, I thought he was dead.
Yes.
Like that's what everything, like all signs pointed to death.
Yeah.
But this one, he goes back and then we see like Rudy, Wally's father, like cracks him in the jaw because he's angry that he did this to his son. So I'm like, I guess he's alive. So either one of two things, either he like just didn't die, or Bart, Bart, Wally is going back and forth in like almost like a different timeline.
That's what,
because
okay,
when he,
yeah,
because when he goes to the future, he sees himself as a monster and as a hero. So perhaps in the timeline where Barry lives, he becomes a monster, and then where he dies, he becomes a hero, or vice versa.
Right.
So that was my interpretation of it, and I'm fine with not having the answer right now because it's so interesting that I'm just here for the ride.
This reminds me, and I don't remember this what the name of this TV show was, but it starred Jason Isaacs, who played Lucius Malfoy, and he's also in the White Lotus and stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's called, he was in a TV show, and I'm trying to look it up. It's before Goth. It's called Awake. It was 2012. It's called Awake.
Oh, I do remember that.
And basically, in the show, it's really cool and it only lasted a season, and it's actually kind of sad it did. Basically, he gets into a car. He's driving with his wife and his child. And he gets into a car crash, and one of them dies. Let's just say his son dies, and so he's living his life with his wife and a dead son. But when he goes to sleep, he wakes up in the timeline that the other one died. So his wife died and his son's still alive. So when he goes to sleep, that makes him switch timelines. So he's living two lives in two alternate timelines.
Yeah.
Which it was, I mean, it was really cool. Peak 2012 event style TV show, but like it was really cool. I wish they didn't. I wish they continued it, but maybe that's what's going on with this. Is that like he's literally jumping from time, like the two different timelines?
That's what I'm theorizing, and mainly because of how it ended. And also, it's like there was this part like right before he goes to the future that was very like Dr. Manhattan coded, where he's like, I'm 4 years old. I'm with my mother when she was still alive. So it has a very just like life, death, alive or not alive, because we were like wondering like, is his mother seemed like she was dead, but then I was like, is she really? And like this confirmed that she was. And so it's kind of like this like, what do you call it? That Schrodinger's cat situation where it's like both things are existing at once. So that's like my current theory, but once again, I feel like in future issues, we're going to get more details.
Okay. Yeah. For me, I want to like this. I think I just need to, and this is the problem. Most comics I like to read monthly, right? Every
Hmm.
month. This one may be one that I'm like, I'll still read it, but like, I have to wait for the arc to finish so I can like understand it, then go back and reread it because um, I'm not normally confused by these sorts of things. Maybe
It's
it's
comics.
maybe yeah, it's comics and like the fact that like we both read a lot of comics
Hmm.
to be able to talk about it. So if I'm confused about this issue, I don't go back and I reread it. I'm like moving on to the next comic. I'll figure it out
Right.
later. Maybe that's what it is. So
Yeah.
yeah, okay.
Also, the rogues designs are very cool,
They're
and for some
so cool.
reason, they're so cool. Like, I kind of want a book of the rogues, and also made a video about like why Captain Cold is so hot. Like, for no reason. Like, I'm
Yeah,
happy about it, but like Leonard Snart was never that kind of guy. But I'm kind of loving this version of Captain Cold. But yeah, like I could have like a whole series of like the rogues based on their designs. They're just so dope.
yeah. I mean, the rogue designs are really cool. They also drop references to Ronnie Raymond and Mick Rory that they
Hmm.
were test subjects, right?
Hmm.
And then they bring in at the end, spoiler, they bring in Gorilla Grodd. Well, they just call him Grodd because he's not a gorilla.
Wow. Yeah.
He's some sort of simian of some sort. He looks like
Hmm.
Simon because he has that visual brain. You know Simon, right?
Hmm.
He has that brain being visible. So he looks like Gleek from Wonder Twins mixed
Hmm.
with Simon, and he's called Grodd, and he's just a psychic monkey of some sort.
Yeah.
Which is
He's kind
cool.
of cute for like a extraterrestrial looking monkey.
Yeah. I think spoilers is like that Grodd and goes to Wally's side. Like Wally gets him as a pet, I think.
Mm.
Which is
I'd actually
kind of
love
cool.
that. That just feels very like, I don't know, like old school sci-fi, like a pet telepathic monkey. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. So I'm very interested on how this works. Um I really like the scene where Golden Glider is like, nobody ever outruns me. And then he's like, well, watch me.
Yeah,
Like,
she gets dusted.
yeah. Yeah. And she's cool too, like her design.
Oh yeah, she's fly.
Yeah.
Like every character, even like Trickster, like I love how it's over the top with that face mask.
Yeah.
But also it's like she was the most kind of like self-aware or like aware of like what's going on with Wally. This is weird. Um, and then Captain Boomerang as well, like his remote controlled boomerangs like that are following
Yeah.
Wally. Those are dope.
Yeah. They're just like drones.
Hmm.
I'll say that this, although the art is really good, and I think that the writing is really good, if I'm understanding everything. It just it there's something off about it that I'm like, I'll get into it later. You
Yeah,
know?
I think I'm enjoying the offness and the not knowing and the mystery, and like not needing the answers and like living in that space.
Yeah. I think that the first three books, the Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, have us like they're all different from each other, but none of them are like trippy in the way that Martian Manhunter or the Flash is.
Hmm.
Um, and then Green Lantern is more straightforward, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is it fair to compare? I don't know. But
I think so because they're in the same universe and we're trying to understand what this is about. But then again, it's like in the mainline universe, Wonder Woman is different than Superman is different than Batman.
yeah,
So I think you can compare and contrast, but also being aware. It's like I want them to be different, but still feel like they can coexist.
yeah.
Mhm.
Um, my pick of the week, I think, has to be uh Detective Comics 1096. And I
Mhm.
know that you're an issue behind.
Mhm.
Um, but and I won't spoil much other than if you think it's going in one direction, it's gonna it cuts into another direction, right?
Mhm.
And
That's exciting.
so like there's a villainess named Asima, is that her name?
Mhm. Yeah.
And like there's a thing going on, but what I really liked about this run is that it is actually making commentary on like the industrial prison, the prison
Prison
complex.
industrial complex.
Yes. And then also about like literal like child like criminal like kids who are put into the system so early. It talks about the recidivism rate and
Hmm.
like whatnot and how like expendable these kids are that we're
Yeah.
putting into prison. So like it makes a stance like that idea that like Bruce Wayne doesn't give back to the community, that Bruce Wayne all he does is puts on a mask and beats up poor people. Like it's such a reductionist view and it's ill-informed. It's reductionist, it's ill-informed view on what Batman Bruce Wayne is as a superhero.
Hmm.
Like it's like saying that all Superman does is save cats out of trees. It'd be like, why isn't Superman like saving the world? All he does is spend time like in Metropolis, and it's like what, right? Like it's that type of ill information applied to Bruce Wayne. That all Bruce
Yeah.
Wayne does is just beat people half to death.
Right. Yeah, and that's why I'm really loving Detective Comics. It's almost quickly becoming one of my favorites. I like binge read like the last 5 issues last week, and I have to say this might be one of my favorite depictions of Damien as well,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like he's been a very hard character for some people to write, and for him to not kind of seem just like a caricature of how he started. And I like to see growth, because I really love all of the Robins. I have my favorite, Tim Drake, but I really want to see them written well, and how like when Damien goes into that prison, and how his like sense of justice is similar to Batman's, but almost even stronger in some sense, because he's able to look outside of himself and be like, you can't take me out of here, because what about the other sons?
Yeah.
And I just love how like he really felt like a hero to me in that moment of like standing up, and also very Damien coded to like go up against this machine that is the prison industrial complex. So I've been very impressed with this run and where they're taking Batman. And to me, especially for a modern Batman, he needs to be facing these very political, social justice issues even more so. And I feel like that's where he shines the brightest, because people do have that misconception of Bruce Wayne and Batman, that he's just this billionaire who goes out at night and beats up insane people.
Yeah.
And that it's very reductionist, it's very untrue. And stories like this that really show his heart, and him realizing even more so, because he does come from privilege, and so I do want that to be included, and he has to open his eyes in certain ways just because of how he was raised, but his heart is good, and when he sees something wrong he wants to fix it, and that's what this storyline is showcasing.
I like the idea that like I don't like Bat God, like the idea that like Batman just like defeats everybody in his way. Just like I don't agree with the Flash when people are like the Flash can just see everything coming. Cuz same with the Flash can be defeated by what he doesn't see or what he doesn't know. Like you could be moving at super speed, but if you don't know that the floor, like let's just say it's an illusion of a floor and it's a drop, the Flash is going to run over it and then drop, right? Like you
Mhm.
can trap him. The rogues can defeat the Flash by what the Flash doesn't see or what the Flash doesn't know. And so the same
Mhm.
with Batman, he goes most of his career without knowing about the Court of Owls,
Mhm.
and then when he finds it, then he tries to take them down. There are other things at play that stop Bruce Wayne from fixing Gotham, right?
Mhm.
It's not like he just can throw money at it and like solve all the problems of Gotham. Because in real life, that's not what happens either. Because there's other
Right.
people with money trying to do their own thing, right? So
Right.
I really did. This is Tom Taylor's Batman run, right, on
Mhm.
Detective Comics, and
Yeah.
um, it's working for me.
Oh
It's
yeah,
working.
me too. I'm really enjoying this. And also to your point, what was the last thing that you said about
Batman can't solve all
Batman?
the problems. Bat God, the
Yes.
Flash, yeah,
Yes. Yes. So what I was going to say was that, yeah, so when people have money and they try to fix things, there are people trying to stop them from fixing things, because that's how they make their money.
mm-hmm.
The prison industrial complex makes boatloads of money. They don't want people to not go into prison. It's like they want people to go to prison, otherwise they make no money.
Yeah.
It's like it's so that's where we get into these conversations about, how much can money fix. It's a more systemic issue that we're dealing with, and that has to be addressed first.
Right. I it's yeah. Bruce Wayne is rich, but is he richer than five other people who are almost as rich put together?
Mhm.
No.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
The money doesn't add up. So, or the money does add up, right? Like they're influence.
Mhm.
Also, Bruce Wayne isn't spending his whole fortune on one thing. Like he's trying to figure things out. So this whole run also goes into why doesn't he just kill?
Hmm.
You know? And I don't want to spoil anything with this, but like even in the first couple of issues they bring up Joe Chill, right? And
Hmm.
that whole thing, and like the guy who killed his parents, like why doesn't he just go out and just kill Joe Chill? Like why doesn't he just do that? And so um yeah, there's some big things that happen in this issue. I think it's great. I wish you read it so we could have talked about it, but
Yeah,
you know,
like that was the one comic that I wanted to get to, like the extra bonus one. And I really wanted to get to it because I've loved these previous issues, but I just didn't have the time.
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Um how come you didn't read DCX Sonic the Hedgehog 2?
I have not an issue, but I keep hearing good things. It's like I'm not always drawn to like, Justice League and Godzilla or
Yeah.
Naruto and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like the crossovers, it feels, I mean, what we're doing is, is what it is, but it's something like juvenile about it. And
Yeah.
I think nothing against it. Like I still watch cartoons. I'm not dogging it,
Yeah.
but it kind of like, is this for me? Is this more like infantilization? But then like I do remember last time you saying how good it was and how they were like matching up like Knuckles with a different character and like how they
Yeah.
each kind of like, and so as long as it's like taken seriously, I probably, to a degree, of course there has to be fun, but like as long as there's some type of like depth to it, I can probably jump into it.
Yeah. I mean, just like a couple years ago, and I think I was doing the show at this time. It was Fortnite Batman, the Fortnite
Hmm.
Batman crossover. So good. It was weirdly good. Like I was not expecting much out of it, but like the Fortnite Batman crossover, like I've bought my cousins the book as a present. Like it is so good because they like Fortnite, and I'm like, get into Batman, you know.
Hmm.
And it was gimmicky, but just to the right degree.
Hmm.
I don't know if you read it. Did you read that one?
No.
It's a crossover that, like, sure, did it need to exist? No. But once it was greenlit, I forget who wrote it. They didn't have to make it work like that. Okay, so are you familiar with Fortnite at all?
Only slightly.
Cool. Just all you need to know is that, like, when you're playing the game, like the storm moves and the storm like reduces your health, right? And it gets smaller
Hmm.
and smaller until one man is standing. And so imagine if that one man is Batman. And so Batman is determined to not let the storm kill him and then also be the last man standing. But then Catwoman is there too. And so
Mm.
Batman and Catwoman teaming up against other people, but every time the storm kills them, it mementos them, right? Like it erases their memory, and then they're back to square one when the game starts back up again.
Mm.
So it erases the memory, but Batman notices there's something, so he leaves himself messages as his memory is getting wiped every single time. And
Mm.
every single time he forgets about Catwoman, but their love remains, right? So
Mm.
he sees this mysterious woman and he's like, I should know who this person is. And he feels like that feeling. So, like, it's really cool the way they make it all work out.
That's deep.
It's like a mystery, also, but we know the answer, but Batman doesn't.
Okay.
So he's trying to
And-
solve the mystery of Fortnite, like the story that has been taking place in Fortnite.
Okay.
And
That
like,
plot
whatever.
does sound interesting.
I'm telling you,
Okay. Might check it out.
yeah. Anyway, so DCX Sonic the Hedgehog 2. I like issue 1. Issue 2, I wasn't sure. I was like, what if the premise is just good, that you set up issue 1, it's great to see them, and then in issue 2 it kind of, falters. It doesn't.
Hmm.
And so basically you get more, a little bit more dark side and Desad. And essentially what happens in this issue is that like Flash and Sonic are the first ones to come up against Apocalypse, or against Darkseid. And Darkseid has one gem in his hand, and like they try to grab it, but Darkseid like flips them over and whatever. And then he shoots Omega beams at both Sonic and the Flash, and they outrun it. Oh, it's such a great moment. You want me to tell you what happens?
Yeah.
Okay. So they try to outrun the Omega beam and they can't. So Flash is talking to Sonic as they're like running in different directions, and then they're like, "Okay, you go high, I go low." So they like run at each other, and then they dodge, and then the Omega beams hit each other, and they dissipate. So like things like that, and then Darkseid has like Lashina and the Female Furies at different locations, and so the other Justice League and their Sonic counterparts go to fight them, and like in the end though, I'm just gonna. You want me to just? I'm just tell you how it ends.
Yeah, you sound very excited.
It's cool. It's cool. So like Darkseid is literally taking apart Sonic's planet, and it's like, because the Chaos Engine or something. I don't know Sonic lore, as really, I really don't. But like Justice League stuff, I do. Darkseid is like, he needs to get the other gems, but he's taking apart their world because of it, and the Robotnik shows up. Anyway, the point being is, at the end, Batman tells Cyborg to protect the Sonic crew and to send them back to the DC universe. And so they appear in the DC universe to Mr. Terrific, and they're like, "Send us back. This stuff was going on." And Mr. Terrific's like, "Yeah, your universe doesn't exist anymore." So the Justice League gets left behind. They get erased. Sonic's universe gets erased, and Sonic and his team come to the DC universe, and that's where issue 2 ends. So it's like,
Team Sonic is going to be the new Justice League.
I think so. I think like that might be part of like the fun / like they need to figure out their way back, bring back the Justice League. But I'm sure next issue we're gonna see Sonic go to Central City and fight the Rogues. I'm no doubt we're gonna see like Knuckles take over Metropolis and like take Superman's and like Shadow in Gotham City. It's so good.
That'd be fire.
It's so good.
That does actually sound cool.
Yeah. So, and like Mr. Terrific shows up, which everybody's been saying, and me, that like why couldn't Mr. Terrific have teamed up with Tails instead of Cyborg? Like Cyborg being with the Justice League, not my cup of tea. He's a Titan.
I could go on a rant, so I won't go into that. But yes, because like Black Lightning, and you can't just switch out black characters. But anyway, yes, Mr. Terrific would have made a lot more sense in the Justice League than Cyborg.
Yeah.
Especially because like with the New 52, and they just threw him on there and like ignored his legacy as a Titan, it just felt like a little bit disrespectful.
It didn't make any sense.
No.
Here's a quick question. I don't want to get into it, but like the only thing that comes out of Cyborg being part of the Justice League is that Cyborg has apocalyptian technology instead of like human man-made, which doesn't really affect much except for giving him access to boom tube technology. Do you like that?
I do like that. I like the whole like mother box apocalyptic technology aspect of Cyborg, because like I always like it when superheroes reach a higher level, and Cyborg has been in the game long enough to warrant such like a colossal like level up. So I do like that advancement.
Okay. I think it works only if you don't treat it like teleporting and you treat it like transport, right? Like he opens it up, you walk through it, as opposed to a Nightcrawler or a Blink sort of situation,
right, yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I completely agree.
Yeah. Now I have another question, is that like when I think of like characters like Cyborg or even Steel, like technological based heroes, I think of like Liquid Metal, because Cyborg had like the Liquid Metal sort of body, Like he
Hmm.
had like that like golden suit. Like it wasn't a suit. Like he was like liquid gold metal, right?
Hmm.
I'd rather Steel have that. Like in 52,
Hmm.
I'd rather Steel have that and Cyborg stay clunky.
So would you rather have Steel be more kind of like sleek?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
like liquid
I like
metal.
the
You
thing
know?
is with Steel because he's based off of John Henry. I like his big, bulky, like, oh, this guy's massive. Like almost like even watching my adventures with Superman. Now he's basically like a mech.
Yeah,
And so the physicality of John Henry Steel, I do prefer him to be bulkier, mainly because it fits the narrative of like John Henry
yeah,
and him being this big, bulky guy. Although I do like the liquid metal as an aesthetic. That does look cool.
yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, all right. Just curious
Hmm.
about that. What else did you read? We're gonna have to pick up the pace as usual.
Okay. All right, cool. What else I read? What else is on here? Captain America Sam Wilson.
Hmm.
That was very good as well. It feels like the one of the more political comics that are out right now, and as it should be, Eagle Star Corporation is now going after black cities, and we don't really know why, but it's obviously something bad because they have been kind of taking the heroes from like Falcon and Captain America, and like taking their abilities and using them for their own nefarious like devices.
Right.
So that's been a really cool storyline, and also we get Patriot and Josiah X.
Mm.
I love teams, and especially like this kind of like spy espionage, like super soldier team is just
Yeah.
a very dope concept to have. So it's definitely one of my favorite Marvel books.
Okay. I mean,
Hmm.
this is what issue 4. I think I've read issue 3. I
Hmm.
didn't read this issue, and I wanted to. I love Patriot because he's on, or he was on Young Avengers. I don't
Hmm.
care too much about Josiah and especially when they were like, oh, he's a clone. He's not even like a son per se of Isaiah Bradley. He's a clone,
Hmm.
and he's not
Hmm.
Elijah's father, right?
Right.
I don't think
He's
he.
like
I don't think he is,
he
right?
he's like his uncle.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and it's like, okay. I mean, why'd we have to overcomplicate it? Why couldn't he just be Isaiah Bradley's son?
I don't mind it as much because it is kind of bringing it over into like the science fiction arena, and then also it speaks to the experimentation of black people. So it's like I'm seeing it more from that lens, and like yes,
Mm,
it would have been more streamlined of if he is just like a straight up relative, but also it almost feels like something invasive that he's this clone and he didn't ask to be here, so I can still connect to Josiah X.
interesting. Okay,
Hmm.
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Um, okay. I like this comic. I just haven't read issue 4.
It's very good. Like, and I'm loving like Falcon, and I just love teams. If you
Yeah,
couldn't tell,
I love
even in
teams
like
too. Like, yeah,
yeah, even in like solo book, but like specifically like family teams of like, oh, this is like the Batman family, the Flash family, and the Arrow family,
yeah.
like the smaller teams within these books. It just feels like there's so much history and drama, and I love seeing them like working together.
This is a joke, but I was like, what would you call this like super soldier esque like like covert ops sort of team? And I thought because you remember how Marvel had the Crew, which was
Hmm.
like they were like black superhero team, but then like I think Black Panther was on it. I can't
Hmm.
remember. Well, this would just be called Black Ops.
I actually love that. Like, it actually makes perfect sense. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't put it. I mean, also just by the name of the Crew
Hmm.
doesn't give anything away. It was kind of like almost unoriginal in a way.
Hmm.
It doesn't mean anything other than it's a crew. But like,
Hmm.
and Black Ops
That's powerful right there.
is kind of in the same vein, but it's a little bit smarter of a name. Anyway,
Yeah.
um, I heard this series is a mini series now because maybe it's not selling well.
I'm gonna assume so, just because it seems like they're getting rid of some of the books that aren't performing as well as they like. Like I think X Factor will be ending. Looks like next issue, maybe like how
Oh,
the solicitation like made it sound like.
yeah.
Seems like the team is disbanding, or at least the book is. So
It is what it is. There are certain
yeah.
concepts that are good in short spurts, and certain concepts that are like, oh, that's an ongoing flagship sort of title. So
hmm
I get it.
And maybe sometime in the future they can come back, and it's always another opportunity to have them start again.
Yeah. I
hmm
mean, both comic companies are sort of figuring out that maybe it's easier to brand comics as like miniseries because like story arcs are essentially miniseries
hmm
to the extent of like, but it's not branded as a miniseries, so people see a legacy numbering and they're like, I gotta read everything, and it's like, no, take it in like 6 issue chunks of story arcs, you know.
hmm
Um, I don't know. Both companies are trying to figure out what they're doing. I'll talk about two titles that I read this week that tie in with each other, kind of, not really. Ultimate Wolverine #4 was a waste, and
Oh
maybe
wow.
that's because of what I want out of the title, but like the majority of the book, I would say 9/10 of the book, except for like the last couple pages, is a metaphorically like it's a metaphor story of a wolf versus a bear in the wilderness with like a lot of text bubbles over it. And
Mm.
essentially what I think it is it's Winter Soldier Wolverine like going through berserker rage through humans, and the humans are the bears because they're Russians, I think. And
Mm.
so the Weapon X program essentially just killing a bunch of people, but in the book it's like a wolf, but he's not even a wolf. Like it's not Wolf Farine, it's Wolverine. That's a different animal.
Close
Ugh.
enough.
I'm just like I that's a pet peeve of mine is when
Mhm.
you attribute Wolverine to a wolf. He is not a wolf. He is a
Yeah,
Wolverine.
because it's like wolves are cool, and I'm like it sounds similar, so they're just like close enough.
Yeah. I think it also has to do with his short king erasure, you know?
Mm.
Because when you think of
hmm
Hugh Jackman is not a Wolverine in that sense. Wolverines are small but scrappy and they will rip you up. That's what Wolverine's supposed to be.
Right.
No, like Hugh Jackman is just like Wolfman. And it's like, okay,
hmm
there's a difference. Anyway, the point
Yeah.
being is the majority of this book is this weird metaphor, and then it's like, oh, they have like a reveal at the end of like another Marvel character that is plugged into machinery, and it's like, I'm not really interested in this book. I'm really
Mm.
not. And it's sad, but like it's not interesting to me. Maybe it's other
Mm.
people's thing, and I'm not saying this book should end. If other people like this book, let me know, you know?
hmm
On the flip side, a better series is Wolverine issue #8. Oh, that's why it was like at least two stories in one. I just finished the first story because it's Legacy 400, so I think there's just more than one story in the book. So,
hmm
um, I like this one. The art is amazing. It's written by Saladin Ahmed, um, dealing with adamantium versus adamantine. But let's see where this is going.
Mm.
We'll see. You know,
Okay. Yeah.
Wolverine I think is not as interesting alone as he is with a team.
Mm.
And that's my hot take about Wolverine. So
I could see that actually. I feel like it would really depend heavily on the writer and where they like take him.
yeah,
But if they don't really put the thought into it, I'm sure it's probably easier to have him work in a team capacity.
yeah.
hmm
Also, like have I like him when he trains and he like mentors people. Like
Mm.
that's more interesting. Just like Batman. Like both of them are over saturated, but like I like them when they're with people, mentoring, being like you know, a mentor to people. So anyway, that's
Mhm.
just me. What else did you read?
Also read X Factor issue #9. This was another solid issue.
Mm.
Doctor Doom tie in. They go on a secret mission to go after this technology to prevent the Doom bots from happening. it, it wasn't groundbreaking, but it was also just another kind of solid issue. Uh, Archangel was in it, which was cool. Yeah, so overall, not anything crazy stellar, but I feel like this book has been very, very solid. And that's why I'm sad to see it go because I could see it reaching greater heights.
Yeah. Which
Hmm.
is also kind of sad. I do like this book. I didn't get to read it this week, but I do think it's sad that if a book's only going to have like, let's just say 10 issues, even one of those issues being kind of part of this crossover event where you couldn't do the full extent of the story that you want to do, like you wasted an
Hmm.
issue on somebody else's idea, that
Right.
sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can't go out at least with some sense of oh well, this is what the team was about because you're being brought into this tie-in, and also feel like it's like they could have waited until they saw how the sales did for the tie-in or something like that to because otherwise there's no point of doing the tie-in if it's not really making sales anyway.
I mean, some of the series didn't tie in. Like some of the like Exceptional X-Men, it said it tied in, but it really didn't. It wasn't counted as one of their 7 issues, but it
Hmm.
had the little logo, the X-Man Hunt logo on the top. Like, because
Hmm.
they mentioned just one thing, one bubble of dialogue. But for the most
Hmm.
part, Exceptional X-Men got to do whatever they wanted. They didn't tie it in with X-Man Hunt, but X Factor
Right.
did, and it was like,
Hmm.
oh, well, that sucks. But
Yeah.
um, eh, if I had my way, I would bring back X Factor investigations and that have X Factor be the grounded, down to earth mystery stuff,
Hmm.
you know? But that's
Yeah.
me,
That sounds cool.
you know?
I'd read that.
Yeah. Because I mean,
Hmm.
that's what they try to do every so often, right? Is like X Factor is. I mean, this book is good. It's just if we're talking
Hmm.
longevity, you know.
Yeah.
Um, you read Exceptional X-Men #8, right? I didn't get to read
I,
this one, but
yes. I read this one and I liked it the normal amount. I guess kind of similar to X Factor, maybe a little bit less. It opens with Sinister, which is very cool. I mean, he's one of the top of the line villains,
yeah,
and that was the best scene. Um, it kind of feels like it's middling, some just waiting in the water, even though things are happening. And I like that it doesn't have the same approach as other X-Men titles. At the same time, it almost feels like the stakes are too low. Even though you have Sinister in the book, it's almost too calm. And not that I need explosions every issue, but I feel like it hasn't really reached a climax to have that kind of dramatic balance.
yeah.
So it's not bad by any means. I just kind of expect more from because the writing is very good, the art is also very strong. I just want a little bit more than what I'm getting. For example, you have Iceman and Emma Frost, and of course the new characters. And I feel like Uncanny X-Men is doing a good job of showing you the old with the new. And
Yeah.
this one is focusing more on the new, which I don't mind, but they don't really have the history to make you as invested as you want to be. So it feels like I'm reading a new mutants type of book with characters that need more development.
Yeah. I mean, I like this book, but also it's because I'm an X Men fan. That's also the thing. Like both you and I, like we have our different tastes and whatever. But I'm sure like we're both reading comics that like if we weren't a like diehard fan of like X, Y, or Z, like would we be cutting it that much slack
Hmm.
as we do? That's the thing about Exceptional X Men. If I wasn't an X Men fan, I would have read a couple issues and be like, I'll catch it
Right.
like I'll catch it later or maybe never come back to it. I'm not quite sure.
Hmm.
Also, the fact that we read comics as much as we do means we're also cutting a lot of slack to these books, knowing that like we will pick it up the next month and hopefully it gets better. But
Hmm.
like other people who don't do shows like this, they're probably like, they tune in on on one issue and maybe they just drop it, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like not to speak for you, but when we have those reactions and we can still we can probably have maybe a higher tolerance than other people because as you said we already have a connection to these characters, but then we also want these books to survive. And what you were just saying kind of reminds me of JSA. the new book because like I'm enjoying it, but also I feel like as a new fan, we're not getting like the deep introspective personal relationships as much as we have in previous incarnations of this team. It's a good story, but I'm like, do people know who Jakeem Thunder is? Do people know who Alan Scott is? It's coming in with the expectation that people already like these characters. And I
Right.
feel like that's something that you don't want to do when you're like introducing these stories to new readers.
I agree.
Hmm.
I think generally speaking, like not to be harsh, but ask yourself like, why should I care?
Yes,
Like
precisely.
I care because I've been reading comics for decades now, through multiple reboots and whatever, right? Sure. But like, why should a new reader care?
Hmm.
Like it's like in the dating game, right? Just in life, in the dating game, like someone could just be a really cool person once you get to know them. But if they have a horrible first date or just a mediocre first date, they
Hmm.
could always say like, I'm a really cool person once you get to know me. And it's like, yeah, but you didn't give me an excuse to get to know you,
Yeah.
right? And the
First
same goes with
impressions are
us. Like if we
crucial.
want
Yeah.
to, we should probably put a good first step, first foot forward.
Yeah. Yeah, first impressions are crucial. And even like when it comes to me, like I like to try to get people into comics. So I want to be like, hey, this is a great book. This is what you're into. It's like they have this type of character. And so when I can't do that, and like I always try to like pick and choose which books I really promote because I want to promote them in the best light. And so if I'm reading a book and I'm like, this probably won't go over well with new readers, I don't feel it's in good conscience to promote it.
I agree. So I'm gonna talk about comics. I'm gonna tie it in with something else that is even more mainstream. But with comics, when people are like, look, um, I want to get into, let's just say the Justice League. I don't tell them, okay, you're gonna start at issue one and you're gonna read all these issues and you're gonna get there and trust me, you'll like it. No, you gotta really you gotta figure out what that first storyline is, even if it's not
Hmm.
chronologically first. Like,
Hmm.
I love JLA year one because like I love because that was Mark Wade, I think, right? Like
Yeah.
JLA year one, I loved it, but that starting lineup of that five may not be best for like people coming in. People might want Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman in their starting lineup of Justice League, right?
Hmm.
So maybe JLA year one isn't a good thing to start off with if you've never read a Justice League book. It
Right.
says year one, but like it kind of is predicated on the fact that like you want to see how the team starts off. But
Hmm.
in fact, no, maybe Grant Morrison's JLA number one with the White Martians coming in, you have this like flagship team that might be the best start,
Right.
you know?
Precisely because it's almost more of a feeling than like rationally chronological.
Right.
And I think that that's sometimes the best way to introduce new readers to comics.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So when I'm introducing my mom to the MCU, I've been cutting out a lot of movies because
Mm.
I don't think they're all necessary for her to learn to love the MCU. And if we want to go back, we can go back. But like people are always like, you cut out the Thor movies, and I'm like, yeah, like it's just not her vibe. And if you get her stuck on a Thor movie, she doesn't like it, she's not gonna continue with the MCU,
Hmm.
So when you're doing the MCU, some people are completionists. They're like, yeah, I'd recommend just starting in the beginning and just keep going. It's like, if people don't like the first couple of MCU movies, they're not going to continue. So same
Right.
goes with comics. Same goes with TV shows. Like,
Hmm.
you know, if you're looking for Bob's Burgers episodes to get someone into Bob's Burgers, you don't necessarily start with episode one. You figure out
Yeah.
the best ones, and then you kind of like get them to love the characters, and then you know watch what you're gonna watch.
And also, when you're dealing with superheroes, you're also dealing with different genres. It's like Thor, is different than Captain America. So it only makes sense to have certain preferences just like you would for normal movies. I don't love horror as a genre.
Mm-hmm.
I love sci-fi and fantasy, but I'm not going to enjoy every horror slasher movie. And that's just my thing. So it's like the same thing with superheroes. And sometimes they color everything with the same shade, but it's not like they can be drastically different.
Yeah, I think we as fans we can lose sight of this. We don't, you and I,
Mhm.
we don't do this. But like
Oh
generally
no.
speaking, like fans are like, I love it. Why don't other people love it? And they're going to
Mhm.
love it. Just like throw everything at the person. And it's like, no, why should they care? You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
I'm showing my girlfriend Jurassic Park movies, and like the question I have to ask myself is like, do I start with number one? Yes, because Jurassic Park just works the best. It just
Hmm.
happened to put the best foot forward for the first movie that makes you just kind of like want to keep watching Jurassic Park movies. But
Yeah.
like, not all movie stuff is like the Fast and the Furious. I introduced to my parents. We started with the fourth movie, and we
Mm.
we just disregarded the first three. We started with four, and we just continued. And it's like, okay,
Mm.
like that was just their vibe, you know.
Hmm.
Anyway, we got to continue. But
Okay.
the big question is like with the comic book industry, with TVs and movies and all that stuff, is like, why should I care? You
Right.
know, like you got to ask
Yeah.
yourself, you know, am I
Yeah. And
selling something in that regard?
yeah, and I feel like also like me being a writer, I'm also thinking about like, oh, when I start this story, how do I want to pull people into this world? So I don't have like a one size fits all, oh, people will just enjoy it because it's a good story. It's
Yeah.
like I think about the things of, theme and plot and character development and all these different things. So then when I'm reading stories where I'm just like, I don't know that that's the best way to pull someone in, I feel like I have to, address it.
A real big, I mean, thing about like us being on TikTok and creating content is like, how do you stop someone from like when they're scrolling to stop on your face,
Hmm.
listen to a second, and every second after that is you trying to keep them on the hook?
Hmm.
Why should they care? Like we know why we should care, but like why
Hmm.
should they care? So
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Yeah.
Um uh let's hit some of this stuff. Nightwing number 125 um deals with kind of a new thing with Bloodhaven. Now that the gang wars kind of like finish off that previous arc, now we're dealing with again a book with commentary about like cops need to back up other cops, and if they snitch on other cops then there's like this supernatural element that comes after you.
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely really enjoyed the concept of it. And I think if I went into it knowing that this is what the story was going to be, I would have better received it. Because I've been loving Dexter Soy's artwork in this story. Like it has been like a very big draw for me. And nothing against this book and the direction that it went into, but it felt like a big and very quick like turn that I wasn't prepared for. So it took me a second to like get into the story, like Maggie Sawyer of it all, and like the actual kind of plot line of the police officers and the corruption. Um, and it is a solid story, but I think because of the quick turn, I wasn't able to invest in it as much as I wanted to.
Yeah. By the way,
Mhm.
I'm hating Maggie Sawyer in this. I think she's not nice, and she's maybe this is her because of her history with Metropolis PD, where they tend to be pretty good cops. Um, but like you just went over to Bloodhaven and you're expecting all the cops to be nice and good-hearted people. I think she's being very naive,
Hmm.
and I don't like her because of it.
Hmm.
Um, I don't. I wasn't she in Gotham before? Like, wasn't Maggie Sawyer on Gotham PD? Shouldn't she know what a corrupt cop should be? Like,
Yes. And I feel like that's where I know her the most from. And like, like Batwoman, like that is where I'm most familiar with Maggie, and less so Metropolis. Like I know that she was there, but I don't think of her when I think of Metropolis.
yeah,
So yeah, I feel like she should be kind of accustomed to how police work like works, especially in places like Bloodhaven and Gotham. This should be kind of nothing new. But I mean, people oftentimes ignore the truth at their own peril. So that's what I chalked it up to.
yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, there's a variant cover of this that is beautiful that should be on a poster. It
Hmm.
is essentially an overshot, looks like an overshot view of Bloodhaven, but the lines of the streets are the lines of Dick Grayson's face, and the two Eskrima sticks he's holding have the the reflection of his face in it.
Mm.
I'm showing the slideshow on or like a on the live stream. So if anyone's out there is able to watch it, look that up because the variant cover, oh, it's so good.
I have to check that out.
Yeah.
I don't think that I saw that.
Yeah. Anyway, we have a couple minutes left, so we're gonna just kind of go through everything else that's left on our list, and we're gonna do like really quick thoughts.
Okay.
Batman Superman World's Finest issue 38, mostly a flashback, but then it sets up the We Are Yesterday, which I'm very excited for because Mark Waid, and it's messing up the timeline a little bit, but I'm all for it.
Yeah, I was excited for this one, and I think I hyped myself up too much because this was more of like a setup issue, and I should have went into it thinking that. It was still very good, like Batman, Superman story, and having Gorilla Grodd and Gorilla City. I love the Flash coming in and Hal Jordan being Hal Jordan. A very solid issue, and I do think that it sets up the We Are Yesterday event like perfectly.
Yeah. I also like there's little character moments in this that I'm just like, oh, only Mark Waid. Only Mark Waid, who has a grasp on all these characters, is like, there's a moment where Bruce Wayne is like, yeah, you know, like if he, you know, the plane has a problem, Hal will just protect it with his ring. And Clark's like, oh yeah, Hal doesn't take his ring on test flights. And he's like, what?
Right. Yeah. Like he's seeing the money burn before his very eyes.
And like modern day Bruce Wayne is just like, whatever, money. But like this being like a kind of younger Bruce Wayne actually trying to run a company and the projects, like, okay. He's like, oh, yeah, never mind. We're gonna burn money. New Gods number 5. What do you think? I didn't read this one.
This one was very good. It starts with Light Ray. I like how he's going around to the different like new gods. Very climactic, very epic. Also, don't want to spoil the ending, but someone does does show up at the end, and I'm curious about where that's gonna go. Otherwise, I mean, like Rom doesn't miss. Like his stories are always just so impressive, and the art is beautiful. One of the best books of this week, I probably have to say.
Okay. All right. We didn't really talk about the Summer of Superman special, but I loved it, and it was just kind of a teaser, a little sampler platter of kind of things to come. Supergirl is getting a new #1 series. Superboy is getting or at least Superboy is back in canon. I don't know whether Superboy is getting a series, like Young Clark Kent series. But you know who is getting a series that was I found out at C2E2 at the panel? Crypto. Crypto's getting his series, and so I'm all for it.
It's deserved.
I mean, this is the Superman Renaissance, and I'm hungry for more, and I'm really hoping that Superman works out the movie.
Yeah, same. Like I hope that it is amazing in everything that I want it to be, and more, and that people like come around to Superman and he stops getting this bad rap, because especially the Superman books have been very strong. Like I've been loving Superman, like the main title itself. Like the quality has been consistent with the Doomsday storyline, and then where it's going with the Summer of Superman special. Like this was better than I thought that it was, and even the ending with the Doomsday Legion. The future looks very promising for Superman.
Yeah. Here's a question before we move on to literal, like lightning fast reviews of some of the other titles that are left. Is this an alternate timeline now? Validus comes through the portal at the moment Clark Kent is going to propose his love for Lana, which we know in the end anyway he's going to get married to Lois. But when he fights Validus, he sees a vision of his future that kind of gets mind wiped away, but he gets a feeling in his gut that Lana is not the love of his life. So he does two things. He doesn't tell her he loves her, and he doesn't tell her he's Superman or Superboy. So Lana doesn't grow up knowing about his secret identity, which is different than the original kind of thing where Lana is the first person he tells. So is this a change to the timeline?
I think so, and I think it's two things. One, I think, because like I believe Mark Waid is doing like a type of like origin story book, like in the summer or like late in the summer, where he's like reestablishing like DC lore.
Hmm.
But then also with the We Are Yesterday, I read some interviews, and it does seem like basically the past and present and future are all going to be like as one, and like the Justice League Unlimited will actually be unlimited, including like the future of the Legion of Superheroes. So I'm feeling like it's going to involve the whole like Superman, because with it being about Validus, and that's a Legion of Superheroes villain, I feel like this is like the new established timeline that's coming into play.
Okay. I
Mhm.
wouldn't trust it if it wasn't for Mark Wade, but I trust him. I trust him. That's
Hmm. He's
Um.
Mark Waid.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um. Man, I want to talk so much about like John Henry Irons and Lana and
Mhm.
like all that stuff,
Yeah.
but we don't got time, so
Mhm.
we're gonna move on. Zatanna number 3. I need like a 5 second, 10 second thought.
Okay. Very good art, is amazing. Zatanna in this alternate dream world. She's with Batman, also an appearance of Basil Carlo, i.e. Clayface. The mystery is unfolding very interestingly. I'm loving this book.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. Um, I think that's all the books that you read this week, right? So I'll just go through the rest of mine.
Yeah. Okay.
Wonder Woman issue number 20. It was confusing at first, but the premise is that Ares wakes up, or Hippolyta wakes up with a dead Ares in her bed. She does not remember sleeping with him. She didn't murder him, but the gods are going to punish Hippolyta by taking away her godhood, because I guess she's a god and she's immortal, so they're going to take away her godhood. And Wonder Woman brings in Batman to solve the mystery. So it's kind of cool, unless you're a hater of this run, and then I'm sure you're going to find something to hate, and that is okay too. Whatever drives you, I guess. But I did not hate this issue. That's all I can say. You know?
Cool. Yeah.
Um Titans 22, return of Deathstroke. Deathstroke is putting together a new team. He's calling it the Crime Syndicate, which I think is very interesting.
Hmm.
Um, and they're developing Roy and Donna's relationship a little bit. I'm cool
Yeah.
with it. I'm cool
Okay.
with it. Donna hasn't mattered much, and in superhero comics, sometimes to make a character matter more, you put them in a relationship. It's the same thing
Hmm.
they did in the Hunger Games with Peeta and Katniss, that they have to survive in a way, in a weird meta way. That's how it works in comics, right?
Yeah. I won't go into it, but just because it's like I just have an issue when it's like women have to be attached to men to make them interesting. It's like the reason why I don't one of the reasons why I don't like Superman and Wonder Woman together
Yeah.
is because it feels like, oh, in order for Wonder Woman to be validated, she has to be in a relationship with
Yeah.
Superman rather than just his equal partner. We don't see Batman and Superman hooking up. And so
That might be a
I
different reason, but yeah, fair.
so I just have an issue when we're dealing with like women having to be attached to men
Yeah.
in order to make them relevant. And I love Donna Troy, and I'm like, just write her. And I have nothing against Donna with Roy, like if it fits the story and it's if it's well written. I love
Mhm.
a good shift. Um, I read the first all-in issue of this, and I wasn't pulled in. Do you think the story gets better, or did you like it from the first one, or what do you think?
Which issue did you start on this one?
The first all in because like I read through the original run
Oh,
and then
yeah. It gets better.
yeah,
Yeah, it's been
okay.
consistently getting better. They introduced a new kind of character called Vanadia. I think she's part cyborg. She's kind of like an Amazo, but a girl, but she's also maybe part tornado. I'm not quite sure. She's kind of an android cyborg, Dr. Ivo sort of
Hmm,
character.
okay.
And I'm curious to see what they do with her. But um, yeah, I think
Okay.
it gets better.
All
Psycho
right.
Pirate
I'll give
is
it a
like
try.
the main villain in the last couple issues. So yeah,
Because like last I saw was that Donna Troy did become leader, and that's what like that was a thing that I did enjoy because I
yeah,
love Donna Troy. I was like this like very commanding presence, but also down to earth.
yeah.
So I was hoping that it would like continue.
Okay.
Okay.
Um, there's some good moments.
Okay.
By the way, shout out to Mario on our YouTube chat. Unfortunately, we can't get to your question because we're running out of time. We're barely able to get through this show. But Mario says, "Good evening. I have a question to the board." If you want to throw the question up there, Mario, I'm sure we can come back in a later episode and answer your question. But I'm sorry. All right, Spectacular Spider-Man 14. I just love Miles and Peter together, and that's all I can have to say. And then Superior Avengers issue number 1. There's some timey-wimey stuff, but the premise is really cool. The premise is that Doctor Doom puts together a team of Avengers from future timelines where Doom has taken over the world as he is now, and that they all revere Doom in the future. So they're all future characters that we think we know that aren't, and they've come to the past to be on Doom's Avengers team. And that premise is super cool. And then later, there's some twists and turns that are also cool. People have compared this not to Dark Avengers, but more to Thunderbolts in a way, like the original Thunderbolts concept. So there's that. It's pretty cool in that respect. So, I mean, you see a female Black Panther named Killmonger. Like, that's her name. So, you know, who knows what's going on. But it's pretty cool. I want to thank you so much, Ethan, for coming on the show, taking time out of your Thursday to be here. Where can we find you? What do you got coming up? Anything you want to plug?
I am on TikTok, Insta, YouTube, Twitter, and Blue Sky under Virgo Blade. Type it in, you'll find it. Right now, I'm still just doing my videos. Doing like the Last of Us. Should be doing some movie reviews as well. I've been getting some advanced screeners, so look out for that. And yeah, that's pretty much about it.
Awesome. It's always a pleasure to have you on this show. So thank you so much for being here. We never run out of things to talk about. So, you know.
We have the opposite problem.
Yeah, right. We're running out of time. For anyone out there who wants to follow me personally, you can follow me at This Is Dimithri on Instagram. That's probably the best way to follow me if you want to follow me personally. But for everything the Keeg is our overarching channel. Comic Talk, it's every Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, where we talk about the new comics that came out this week. But it's one of many shows that we do on the Keeg. So if you want to follow the Keeg on social media, TikTok and Instagram, at The Keeg Show, but also Blue Sky and Threads and all that, at The Keeg Show / The Keeg Show, pretty much everywhere, including Patreon, patreon.com / The Keeg Show. If you want to find a comic shop near you, go to comicshoplocator.com, find a comic shop near you, support your local comic shops, and support your local public libraries. Whether or not they got comics there, and they most likely do, support your local public libraries, because they are in need of support, and they are a treasure to the community. And they are a resource. So support local comic shops and public libraries as well. Other than that, that is pretty much it. Follow us on social media and do all that. If you're watching us live, you're watching us on youtube.com / The Keeg Show or twitch.tv / The Keeg Show, or you're listening to the podcast wherever you get your podcast from, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, all that stuff. Let us know you're out there. Like, comment, subscribe, follow, write a review, do your thing. It's always nice to see that people are watching. That's pretty much it. Thank you, Ethan, so much. Thank you to everybody out there who was watching and or listening, including Mario out there. And speaking of Andor, we're going to have an Andor after show or, every 3 episodes, because I'm super excited for Andor as well. So anyway, that's pretty much it. Thank you. Once again, I'm your host, Dimithri Perera, and this has been another episode of Comic Talk for the week of April 17th, 2025. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Peace out.
Super fast, gotta beat the boss and get the loot, 'cause it's the king.